What's up? I'm Bee, and welcome to my channel where we debunk harmful personal development and religious norms. Today's video is a little bit less religion focused. I figure we could take a bit of a break and focus a bit more on personal development and life lessons. There's a bit of a reason in particular why I wanted to take this video and film it today. I didn't think I would be so emotional, literally less than a minute into the video, but here we are. I'm going to give a bit of a disclaimer. This is probably the most vulnerable that anyone on YouTube has ever seen me. I know I've cried like a million times on this channel. I don't care about that. I always say like, oh, I cry twice a day. I cry all the time. I'm very in touch with my emotions. I don't mind that. But today, I am coming from a place of very real hurt that is so fresh. So if you hear the emotion in my voice and you perceive that this might be a little bit too intense of an energy for you, because of course the things that I'm going to say are not triggering, I don't believe, in any way, but like I said, the hurt that I am feeling is very fresh, and the only way at this point that I can process it and try to move on is by talking about it and by distracting myself from my own sadness, and by taking the hurt that I am feeling and experiencing it and using it to try and do some kind of good. If I end up going back and watching this and deciding, wow, this is too much, it's still too fresh, like you need a little bit, obviously you won't see this video, but I just want it known. I know there's a big conversation about like sad fishing on the internet. This is not sad fishing, this is authenticity. And I think people could benefit from seeing it more. So many people put out like the best parts of themselves on the internet, or the parts that they can try and see to use for personal gain, and that's not what it is. I mean, I guess I am trying to get personal gain in the fact that I do need a distraction and I need to put my energy into something other than wallowing in sadness. But overall, I do think that sharing these 10 life lessons is helpful, and I hope that it speaks to somebody who needs it. So that is what we are doing today, and kind of the main crux of why I've decided to do 10 lessons, because I'm only 27, I have a million more things to learn in this life, but there are these 10 things that I know to be true, and this is what I focused on, is because my husband, Rick, and I did kinship foster care for 10 months. And as of 7:30 this morning, that journey has come to somewhat of an end. I'm going to talk about it more at the end of the video, but before I just keep rambling on and on, let's go ahead and get into these 10 lessons. These are not in any sort of chronological order. I just started writing out things that I believe to be true and facts, I guess, not facts, subjective facts that have helped me not only over the past 10 months, but just in life in general. So the first one is that if you have to force something, it is not for you. And I know that that can be a really complicated thing to think about and determine for yourself, but I think there's a very drastic difference between having to work hard for something and having to force something. This can apply to anything: a relationship, a friendship, a career goal, just literally a purchase, the kind of car that you want, anything in life you can apply this to. Are you forcing something, or are you working really hard for it? Achieving big things requires hard work. You have to, and I don't even want to say like grueling work, but it requires dedication, planning, goal setting. Those things do exist within the realm of hard work. Hard work is necessary in life. It just is. But you can feel it in your heart and in your gut when something is not right, when you are trying to force something, when you're trying to force somebody to be something that they're not, or you want somebody to be a certain kind of friend to you, and that's just not who they're going to be, or when you like a company and you want this particular promotion and you want it so bad, but it's not happening, and you don't know why. Maybe somebody else is getting it. because of favoritism. Maybe somebody else is getting it because it's the path that they're supposed to take and you're meant for something else. But you can feel it in your gut when you're like, I am the only person trying to force this thing to happen. And the universe, God, my situation keeps telling me no, 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 no. And I'm just not listening. And it sucks because sometimes you can think that you know what's best and you know what should be happening, or you know, like, again, like taking it back to a romantic partner, like, oh, if you just did this differently, our relationship would work. But they're not going to do that. They're not going to change. And, you know, some people do change, obviously, but in certain instances, you can tell that they won't. And so you can't force anything. You really can't. And if you're trying to force something, again, it is not for you. And that is okay. Not everything is for you. Not everything is for me. Any idea that you have, you don't have to follow through with it. You can take a step back and say, why am I working so hard for this? What about this thing is what's driving me to keep trying to accomplish something that just isn't happening? And again, it's painful, but it's an important thing to know. Number 2, you will never regret being optimistic. And I know that sounds cheesy, and I know that sounds contrite and like, oh, toxic positivity. You know, I came up with these like little phrases, and then I'm obviously going to explain the rest of them to you. But the way that I can boil this sentiment down is that you will never regret being optimistic. And this is something that I struggled with for a long time, because I guess I'll relate it to doing kinship foster care. You know, I haven't really talked openly about a lot of the details that went on behind it and all the struggles that we had, but one really intense thing that happened was before we got custody of Monks and Beans, I had asked, you know, would it be good to get certified? Are there going to be ways that we can have some help financially? You know, we both work full time, and so we'll have to put them in daycare. You know, just what does that look like? And I'm just going to say, we were discouraged from becoming licensed initially by the caseworker from the state that the kids are from. She said it's going to be a lot more overhead. Like, you can do it if you want, but I don't really see the value in it. Like, I probably wouldn't do it. There's a lot of drawbacks. And so me, being a trusting person, when she tells me that she probably wouldn't do it and there are other ways to get financial assistance, I'm like, cool, perfect, sounds good, right? Like, yeah, if there's other ways that we can have some help, that would be awesome. No worries from me. Well, turns out you can't apply for assistance until you have the kids in your care, because you have to have like physical custody over them before you can apply for anything because of them. Makes sense. And so my husband and I had quite a few conversations about, you know, just the uncertainty of it and not knowing what having 2 kids placed with you is going to look like in the process. And one of his biggest concerns was, well, we don't know what they're going to do. Like, what if they get here and we don't get anything? And me, being who I am, I'm like, they wouldn't do that to us. Why would they just drop off 2 kids and then say, figure it out, you're on your own? They're not going to drop us on our head. It will be so good. We're going to get assistance. Cut to them getting here, us getting denied for everything. There's no childcare assistance. There's no cash assistance. There's no kinship stipend, because if the kids were from Arizona, we would get a kinship stipend. It would be a very, very small amount of money, but they would qualify for these things because they're Arizona kinship kids. But because they're from a different state, Arizona says, those aren't our foster kids. We don't owe you anything. And because the kids are from Colorado and they came here, Colorado says, well, they're not in Colorado. They're with you in Arizona, so we don't owe you anything. And it was such a stressful, horrific whirlwind of like, oh shoot, I thought we were going to get help with this. Now we're not. Let's figure it out. This is insane. But at the same time, I'm sitting here feeling like, wow, I really had faith in people, and I really had faith in the system, and I had hoped that we wouldn't just be left alone. And we were, and I feel stupid for being so optimistic about it. And at the time, I was in the middle of a personal development course, a live one. So we had like Skype calls and live chats and all that stuff with the instructor. And so I had just asked her, how do you balance being optimistic and trying to stay in a positive headspace with keeping reality in mind? Like, how do you not set yourself up to be disappointed? And how do you not regret thinking the best, because I feel really dumb right now? And she essentially said, well, think about it like this. If you were worried about that thing the entire time leading up to it happening, and then the expected outcome, the bad outcome happened, this is how much time you would have spent thinking about it, worrying about it, and dealing with it. But if you believe positively up until that time that negative thing happened, you've had all of this time where you haven't been worried and you haven't been stressed. And so, yeah, it's disappointing to have that bad thing happen, but you overall have spent less time in that. You spent less time in that negative emotion, in that muck, in that worry, in that anger, anxiety, any negative emotion that you can think of. And so you should never feel stupid for being optimistic, or you should never feel foolish. And it's taken a lot for me to really internalize that. And I'm still struggling with it. I still think about oh, well, if this thing had been done differently, or if I had asked this question, or if I had, just been a bit more in the real world, quote unquote, maybe I wouldn't feel so silly for thinking the way that I do. But I also don't want to be the person who is jaded and bitter and questions everybody and everything all the time. And so I think that that's a really good thing to try and hone in on. You're not going to do any negative thing to yourself by being optimistic. Yeah, you might still have to deal with crappy stuff, but you would have had to deal with that anyway. So at least you weren't worried about it twice. Number 3. This is something I've spoken about before, and it's especially true for any people who follow me who are religious. And that is that you cannot grow in a bubble. If you only hang out with and speak to and engage with people who are exactly like you will never be open to seeing things from other people's eyes. You will never be open to viewing things in a different way. And one, I think that that's really sad, because you're just limiting yourself to this tiny life where you are so concerned with what's happening here that you don't even engage with things that are happening out there. And 2, it can lead to a lot of hateful rhetoric because you're just unwilling to understand people who are different than you. Number 4, and I really, really like this one, and that is that your attitude impacts your resourcefulness, which then impacts your level of success. And I feel like that's a really straightforward one, but let's just take a quick second to talk about it, because this is one of my biggest pet peeves in the entire world, which does not mean that I'm not guilty of doing it sometimes in my own life, but overall this is one of my biggest pet peeves, and that is a person who is a perpetual victim. I can't stand it. I really can't. When somebody's entire attitude or personality is that the world is out to get them, or the government is out to get them, or their family is against them, or, you're trying to steal something from them all the time if you don't do exactly what they want. That is somebody who just doesn't take accountability for their own actions and finds somebody to blame at every turn for the way that their life has turned out. I cannot stand it. And so but I've been in that place, so no judgment there. I have been in that place where every day is a new complaint. Every day is another reason why my life is so hard. And it's not a fun place to live in. It really isn't. And I think that we all know that. I think it's good to put it into words, though. And so even if you are having a consistent problem or a really big obstacle that you are having to overcome, it's okay to feel sad about that. But if your attitude is, this is the worst thing in the world, life is out to get me, God hates me, I'm the victim in this, you're going to be stuck in that problem for a lot longer than if you come from a place of, all right, this sucks, this is kind of tough, but what can I do? How can I make this better? How can I change this? How can I see this from a different angle? If you have a more positive attitude and an approach that's a problem-solving approach, you're going to find solutions. If you're looking for problems, you'll find those. If you're looking for excuses, you'll find those. If you're looking for solutions, you will find those just the same. And when you find those solutions and you follow through, you get a better outcome. Number 5, and this is another one that I am going to call myself out on hard, because it's something that I know, but I am still strengthening my abilities in this area, I guess. And so number 5 is that it is not only healthy, but also necessary to know your own boundaries and honor them, even if you perceive that doing that is going to let somebody else down. Ooh, that is a heavy, heavy one. Because if you are a fellow people pleaser like me, you never want anyone to struggle. You never want anybody to feel bad. And if you have it within yourself and you have the capability and availability to do something for someone at any time, you will do it. So that way they don't suffer. But having that attitude can really quickly lead to resentment, to not honoring yourself, to burnout, to exhaustion, to financial strain. If you are somebody who just no matter what, if somebody else needs something from you, you're going to do it, it will not end well. It is such a beautiful trait to have, to know somebody who just is so selfless. But who's there for them? Who's selfless for them? Chances are probably not a lot of people, if anyone at all. It is hard to think about, well, you're asking me to do this, and if I say no, what's going to happen to you? Or how is this going to turn out for you? How is this going to inconvenience you if you're asking me for something and I won't do it? And it's so hard to, feel like you're leaving somebody dangling from a tree by their parachute and not getting up there to help them. But you have to honor yourself. You have to understand your own needs and what you need to be healthy, happy, and functioning before you can give yourself to others. Because if you are not whole, if you are not in a good place, you're not going to get a good outcome. It will lead to a lot of hurt and a lot of strain and resentment for you and for your relationship with whoever it is that you are giving so much of yourself to. It's not selfish to take care of yourself. It is not bad to put yourself first and to understand your boundaries and enforce them. It's hard. It's not fun. You might feel guilty, but overall, it will be better for you. Number 6, you have to run your life or it will run right past you. This one is quick, easy, simple. Get a planner, get a journal, get something. If you are so just content and happy and love every aspect of your life as is, great. You keep doing what you are doing. But for those of us who have goals that we haven't accomplished yet, that we are still working towards, whether it be fitness goals, relationship goals, career goals, no matter what. You can't just say, I don't know, say it's a health goal. I want to reduce inflammation in my body and lose 10 pounds. Great. Now what? If you don't have a planner or an app to help you track that or some kind of program you're following, you can have that goal all you want. You can desire that thing all you want. But how are you going to get there? What's your game plan? What's one thing you're going to do every day to move a little bit closer to that goalpost? You need to run your own life because days are short and life is short and it will just speed past you unless you are intentional about the things that you are doing every day. Number 7, contentment is an essential. Man, that one's hard. These are all hard lessons, but they're all so important. If you are in a situation right now and you are finding that you are unhappy and you're saying, it's not like a very specific thing where you're, I don't know, in a toxic relationship or in a really abusive workspace. Like, it's not one specific thing that's causing your problems. It's just, well, my life isn't really what I want it to be, and so it sucks, and I need this to make it better. I need a new job to make it better. I need a new house to make it better, a new car, whatever it may be, a new career, anything. If you can't find that contentment where you are, when you reach that goal, when you get that new thing, you're not going to feel any better. You're still going to find a reason why it's not enough. And so contentment can be as simple as, today was really chaotic and rough, but right now I'm sitting outside having a glass of wine, or I'm playing fetch with the dog, or I'm watching my kids play, and the sun feels nice on my arms. or I can hear the birds outside and they're chirping and it's a beautiful song. If you can find those small things that remind you that, life might not be perfect, but this is good. This is beautiful. This is something to be grateful for. It can make all the difference. Number 8, not my monkeys, not my circus. Just a real solid reminder that you don't need to be in everyone's business all the time, 1, and 2, you don't need to take on other people's problems or issues. And as somebody who is so incredibly nosy, this one's tough. This one is tough because I think we all kind of get a bit of a high when hearing about other people's drama or being engaged in drama ourselves and wanting to step in and get involved and be like, oh, well, she said what? What did you say? And wanting to be invested in that. Especially if you don't really have anything going on in your life and you have this altercation that you feel you can add your 2 cents to. It's a hard one to reel yourself back in, but man, you will be so much happier if you can just look at situations where you want to get involved or you want to step in and just say, you know what? Not my monkeys, not my circus, not my business. And that doesn't mean in terms of large scale things like injustice or discrimination. That is your business. That is your business to get into and to stand up for what is right, 100%. But I just mean more so in the interpersonal field. I have a very small group of people that I am infinitely loyal to. And so if anyone from that small group was like, hey, I need you, drop of a hat, would be there, would call somebody, would Facebook stalk with you, would show up somewhere for moral support or to intervene. I will be there. But for the general public, for acquaintances, for things at work that are going on, not my business. Feel free to vent to me if you need to. I mean, I'm nosy, I'll take the details, but I'm not going to get involved. That's on you. That's your business, and trust me, you will be a lot more content because 1, you're not getting involved in other people's drama, and 2, you can just focus on yourself and focus on your life. You can be there, be a support for somebody who is going through something, but at the end of the day, I'll say my piece, I'll help you out where I can. I'm gonna stay over here though. Number 9, people will treat you as positively or poorly as you allow them to. Unless somebody is just a really, really good person, they're not going to inherently look out for your own best interests. They have their own wants and their own desires. And I feel like it's really tough when you're not a confrontational person to stand up for yourself and to say, you're not going to treat me like this. This is unacceptable. Because sometimes it's just easier to let it slide by and, it sucks and it bothers you the way that you're being treated. But again, it's easier than making the waves or causing the scene or being the squeaky wheel because you don't like doing that. I know I don't. I'll speak for me. I don't like doing that. But if somebody's treating you poorly and you're not saying anything, what are they going to keep doing? Why would they have a motivation to change? They don't, because they're getting what they want and they're treating you however they want to treat you, and you're not standing up for yourself. If people let you down, don't fulfill commitments, lie about you, lie to you, and they get away with it because you're not saying anything, they're going to keep doing it. And so yes, you should honor yourself and live in your own integrity and make sure that the way that you are behaving is appropriate and something that you're proud of. But you're not a bad person if you call somebody out for treating you poorly. And number 10, this is the one where I'm gonna try so hard not to get emotional, but no promises. Number 10 is that big picture thinking gives you grace, patience, and the incredible benefit of being able to see things from someone else's perspective. I think that oftentimes if we're going through something difficult, there's a really strong impulse and a common theme of looking at things in this little 10-second sliver of your own perspective and how you see it and how you're experiencing things. But life is rarely black and white. And I struggle with that sometimes, because when I was a lot younger, that's how I was brought up to think, is, you know, and not just like by parents, but by teachers and religious leaders and people I was around. It's like, this thing is wrong, this thing is right. That's it. That's the end of it. There's good people, there's bad people. There's people who are like us, there's people who are different. And those were very harsh lines. But that's not how life is. And thank God. Thank God that's not how it is, because I can imagine, like, I can think of various different times where I have been unkind or hurtful or selfish or done things that I regret. And what if I was judged for the rest of my life by those things? If somebody looked at those things and determined my worth or my value and said, oh, well, you're a bad person because of those things. That would be so sad. That would be so hard to get a judgment based on specific actions as opposed to my heart, right? And so thank God for giving us grace and for giving us the capability to have grace for others. I think if you're going through a really tough time right now, where you're trying to make a really hard decision and you're looking at it from the perspective that you have right now, it can be really helpful to look at all of the people involved, all of the parties involved, try and see where they're coming from, trying to look at things in the long run and how whatever's happening now can impact greater things, and just remembering to extend grace to everyone involved. And so again, this is where I'm going to get into why I am no longer a kinship foster parent. When Rick and I first got approached about taking the children, it was by one of their biological parents. CPS had, or DHS had already gotten involved, and they had already been removed from the home. And so this biological parent said, please put your name in, please try and get them, please take them. I am going to do whatever I need to do to get them back. So we had the one parent who asked us to take them, and, you know, they were saying they were doing everything, and we're hearing different, but trying to be hopeful and praying for them and trying to do what we can to make sure that they're staying on track. And then we have another parent who's incarcerated and who we're also being told isn't on track to get their kids back. And so for the past 9.5 months, we're kind of getting the same messaging that it's really unlikely that either parent will get their children back. And so having those conversations and speaking to attorneys and caseworkers and everybody involved, we start going down the line of, okay, so there's going to be a termination of parental rights and an adoption on our end. And we had a court date and we had witnesses, and like, that was what was happening. But, you know, so in the meantime, when you don't talk to somebody every day, you don't know what their everyday life is looking like. In the meantime, that incarcerated parent was taking classes, was working while they were incarcerated, was going to meetings, and was showing progress and getting better, and ended up being released on parole. And at that point, that is a total game changer when you have a parent who is appearing to go down the right path and the correctional system agrees and they release them. The state's going to honor their constitutional right to parent, which can be a hard thing to grapple with, but it just is what it is. That's their kid. And if they're making positive changes, the state's going to give them a chance at reunification. And so, long story short, the parent who was incarcerated, their parents said, we want the kids. We want to take them and let them have a closer relationship with this parent. I'm trying not to be too specific. I don't want to give details on anybody, so I'm sorry if it's vague. But, you know, we want them because we know that you want to adopt them. And now that our child is out and is, you know, doing better and trying to get healthy, we don't think that that's fair. And obviously, when you have it in your head that you're going to do something for months and months and months, and then all of a sudden it just gets like ripped right out from under you, it is incredibly devastating. But we had a series of conversations and consultations, and like, this was all my husband and I talked about for 3 weeks probably, because, you know, they said, the kids are with you. We don't want to move them, but if you're not willing to do something called an allocation of parental responsibilities, you can't keep them. And so again, we went from thinking that we were going to adopt these kids and they would be ours, they would get new birth certificates, and we made it clear to the birth parents, we have no interest in keeping your kids from you. It's just having this stability and having guaranteed health insurance until they're 18 is a really great benefit to your kids. So, let's do this. And if you guys are sober, great. Have a relationship. Like, they know who you are. They talk to you every week. We're not trying to like cut you out of their lives. It's just, this is the route that we think is best. But then we had to say, okay, if we did an allocation of parental responsibilities, here's the benefits, here's the drawbacks. And what's the main goal of an allocation of parental responsibilities? The main goal is to close the case so it doesn't need further DHS intervention or monitoring, but with the hope that in a particular amount of time, whether it's 6 months, 6 years, 10 years, whatever it may be, it's leaving the door open for a parent to get their child back. And so thinking about, well, this is the main goal. This is the only thing that the state is open to. Who's going to give a better opportunity to the parent who's on track to maintain a relationship with their kids? So that way, if they do everything that they need to do to get them back, it's an easier transition for the children. That would be the grandparents. And it sucks to know your limits and again feel like you're letting somebody down, because we didn't want them to leave. We didn't want them to move again. But if you're thinking about what is in their best interest, this parent has shown progress. They are doing what they need to do, so much so that the state has completely changed their case plan to give them a chance to get their children back. And how can we contribute to the best outcome for everyone? Because yeah, it's gonna suck to move them, but knowing our relationship with that parent and knowing the grandparents' relationship with that parent, we would not be as open or as free to unlimited communication. Like, it would be, okay, here's a very strict set of rules with this APR that we are going to follow and enforce because of XYZ. I'm not going to get into all of the reasons why, but it's like, okay, we have a very tense relationship with this parent. So if that parent is going to get the kids back, at some point, it's going to be so much easier for them to go live with somebody that they know, and not just, oh, we have one phone call with you a week for 30 minutes. Like, if they are with their grandparents will let their child have as much communication with the kids as they want. And so they'll really have a chance to build that relationship and foster that love. And it will be, it's tough right now, but in a few years, it wouldn't be as detrimental to them as it would be if they were with us, because they wouldn't have as strong of a relationship. And so again, it really sucks to feel like, man, these past 10 months were so hard. We did so much. We've seen so much progress with them, and now it's just over. They literally got picked up this morning, and I was crying so hard this morning because it's just so confusing. I do think that this is for the best, because it gives the best chance possible at a reunification with at least one biological parent. And so it's hard, but I stand by that choice. If I were only thinking about me and how it impacts me, I don't know that I would have had the capability to take a step back and say, well, hold on, this will hurt now, and it'll feel like these past 10 months were for nothing, but what can be gained from this? Okay, yeah, a potential reunification can be gained, but also we took these 2 kids out of foster care. That opened up the foster family's home. They have 2 more spots now for kids who might not have their own family to take care of them. Oh, bringing them here, even if it was just for 10 months, it gave this set of grandparents the capability to spend so much time with them and to say a proper goodbye. It gave us, it stretched me and Rick in so many ways and made us realize a lot of things. And I really do. It strengthened our marriage because we turned to each other and we relied on each other so heavily throughout these past 10 months. And so you have all these little things that came from this really hard situation, and you have to be willing to take a step back and evaluate it from a place of looking for the good. So in any case, the past few weeks have definitely been a massive struggle. I have cried more intensely than I ever remember crying. So many emotions that it's almost debilitating. And I know it's not over. It's a lot to process, and at some point I think I want to make a video either like answering your questions about kinship foster care and also kind of sharing my experience and a lot of the issues that I went through and a lot of kind of the BS that I noticed, just to get it out there, because I feel like it's a really important topic that needs to be, you know, people are talking about it, but it needs to be more widely talked about, the way that DHS messes with you, honestly, and manipulates you and backs you into a corner. And spoiler alert, I have audio recordings of particular things being said, and then I have emails from weeks later of that same person saying, oh, I never said that. So just something to think about if you're interested in hearing it. But here's kind of the part where I need to ask for your help. On our journey with kinship foster care, there have been a lot of places that we turn to for help, particularly the government, where they said, nope, sorry, not our circus, not our monkeys, we won't give you anything. But there are nonprofits that helped us so immensely. And yes, of course, we had family and friends who stepped up and gave us hand-me-downs or bought extra toys or brought things over, and they are so incredibly helpful. And I appreciate them immensely. But I am also so appreciative of those organizations that exist solely to help people. And you don't have to pay, you don't have to donate, you don't have to do anything. You just have to have a letter that says, hey, like, these kids are coming, and they will help you. And so I want to do something now to give back to those organizations. I want to put my pain and my hurt and my emotion into something positive. I want to help the people who helped us. There's an organization called Arizona Helping Hands that I went to. They gave us the beds, the mattresses, a ton of like brand new bedding, mattress protectors, tons of clothes, books, little hygiene kits. They gave us smoke detectors and a first aid kit. Like, those are things that you have to have, particularly in order to get approved for your home study. You have to have the smoke alarms and the first aid kit. So again, I want to give back to an organization who has given so much to us and to countless families in the Valley. I was hoping that maybe y'all would want to jump in on this with me. If not, no pressure. I totally get it. But I'm going to put a poll on my community tab that after you're done watching this, you can go and vote on. I think it would be so cool if our little community got together and provided in a way for Arizona Helping Hands. And so there's two ways I'm thinking of doing it, and I want to know what you would prefer. So the first way is that we can donate items. We can donate toys, clothes, books, backpacks, you know, just a plethora of things. And so I could set up an Amazon wish list, and diapers, diapers especially, diapers and wipes. So I could set up an Amazon wish list, and if you wanted to buy something, you could buy it and it would come to me, and then I could take it all as one big donation. I know we don't have like a community name. There was a joke a long time ago about calling y'all the Bound Bees. Because like, boundaries are important, and I'm the Bound Bees. I don't know. We don't have a community name, but you and I, all of us together, donating and getting stuff from this Amazon wish list and then taking it over, and I could do like a video, you know, putting it all together and going over there, and I think that would be really cool. Or another way that I think would also be really awesome is if I were to do a merch campaign. Because I've never done merch before. I know that some of y'all have asked about it, and I've been just kind of hesitant. It's something I'm interested in, but I just haven't jumped on yet. But if I did a merch campaign, and then just the profits from selling that were donated as cash to Arizona Helping Hands, because that way you could also have like And it's an exchange, you know, you buy this, you get a shirt or a sweatshirt, a mug, whatever in return, and that money, the profit, gets to go to a really good cause. So if you are interested in joining me, I have discovered, I think, this new pound. Good Lord, I've been talking for too long. I have discovered a newfound passion, and that is really just wanting to step up and do what I can, not only for kinship foster families, but foster families in general. Like I've talked about this on my Instagram stories. The former foster mom who had Monks and Beans before has just been such an incredible resource, and I am so grateful for her. And like, yes, you get paid to be a foster parent, but that doesn't take away from, you know, the thankless nature of it and all of the emotions and turmoil that you go through. And so I just have such a spot in my heart for foster kids and foster parents alike, and I want to do what I can to make an impact and make it better, you know? It's not fair that kids have to go through this stuff, but they do. And so I want to do what I can to help. And if you are interested in joining me on this crusade of sorts, feel free to go over to my community tab and vote. Again, like, this is no pressure. I'm going to get stuff and donate it anyway. I'm going to get a Starbucks gift card for the people at their daycare and some extra diapers and wipes for them, and just thank them for the way that they loved Monks and Beans while they went there. There's a few other organizations that I'm looking at that are specifically for kinship, to help them get licensed so that way they can be financially compensated for taking in their family members, and which they 100,000% should. Yes, it's family, but this is America. If we lived in a world where it was like, yes, family first, focus on your family, have this community, it takes a village, that would be great, but we don't. And so I firmly believe that kinship families should be compensated. I'm starting to get a little bit angry because the emotions come in waves. Again, no pressure. Donations will get made either way, but I think it would be so cool if, like, imagine 10,000 of you. Imagine that, the impact that we could have on kids. It would just mean so much to me. And I don't mean that to be guilty. I'm just being honest. So I'm going to go ahead and stop talking. I'm going to let you go. Let me know if you agree with these life lessons, if you disagree, if you have any that you want to add for yourself. Please leave them in the comments down below. And while you're doing that, if you would consider liking this video or subscribing to my channel, that would be incredible. And if you are subscribed already, thank you so much. I am so appreciative of you, and I love being able to just sit here, hang out with you, and talk about whatever. With all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you so much for watching. Please be kind to people, and I will see you in the next one.